The film opens with a young girl possessing an extraordinary intellect. She can instantly solve complex mathematical equations, flawlessly recall any sequence of digits, and her memory is perfect. Once she sees a number, it's permanently etched in her mind. One afternoon, walking home with her friends, a group of men suddenly seizes her from the street, dragging her away. She's delivered to Han, a brutal Chinese mafia boss who has significant plans for her rare talents. Han's criminal enterprise is generating too many digital traces, making it easily trackable. To evade law enforcement, he requires someone to store and process his most critical information the traditional way, within their mind. May is ideal for this task. Initially, May refuses to cooperate. She's merely a child and wants no involvement in any of this. However, she quickly realizes she has no alternative. Under the supervision of a trusted gang member, Chong, she's taken to New York, compelled to live as his daughter, hidden in plain sight. She transforms into an unseen yet powerful asset in Han's criminal empire. Meanwhile, in New Jersey, Luke, a former police officer now an underground cage fighter, is in the midst of a violent bout. The fight is fixed. He's supposed to lose, but instinct takes over. "How dare you come here, you enough?" And he inadvertently lands a devastating knockout blow, sending his opponent into a coma. "You should be in jail." This unexpected victory costs the Russian mafia leader, Emil, millions in lost wagers. Luke barely has time to react before understanding the implications. "Come out, what are you, crazy man?" Emil doesn't just absorb financial losses, he exacts revenge. Panicked, Luke rushes home, but he's too late. The Russians have already been there. Vasil, Emil's cruel son, has murdered Luke's pregnant wife. The devastation shatters him. He possesses the skills to retaliate, but he doesn't. Perhaps it's the shock, perhaps it's the realization that nothing will resurrect her. The criminals don't kill him, but they inflict something worse. They vow that anyone he ever speaks to or even interacts with will suffer the identical fate. With no family, no residence, and no motivation to fight, Luke vanishes into the streets of New York. For the next year, he becomes just another homeless man wandering Manhattan, a mere shadow of his former self. As Luke's world collapses, May's life continues under the gang's watchful eye. Each week, Chong takes her on rounds through Chinatown, where she commits to memory the financial figures of every business under their influence. The gang demands payments from shop owners based on their earnings, and May's perfect calculations ensure no one defrauds them. It's losing music money. Over time, she starts to comprehend how power and wealth circulate through the underworld. She might be just a child, but within Han's empire, she is one of his most invaluable possessions. Luke spends his nights in a dilapidated, chaotic homeless shelter where survival relies more on chance than anything else. One evening, he encounters a man without shoes and severely infected feet. Feeling empathy, Luke gives him his own new pair of shoes. But the following morning, he awakens to discover the man dead. His throat slit overnight, the shoes stolen. Meanwhile, across the city, May receives tragic news. A woman working with Chong wakes her in the middle of the night to inform her that her mother has passed away back in China. She had been gravely ill in the hospital, and now May is truly alone. The next morning, Han arrives in New York for the first time since dispatching May there. He brings with him a slip of paper containing a sequence of numbers, which he orders May to commit to memory. She accomplishes it in under 10 seconds, effortlessly locking it away in her perfect recollection. Han burns the paper to ash directly in front of her. Now only May knows the code. Chong immediately prepares to transport her to another location, where she will be given a second set of numbers to retain. But before they can complete the assignment, the Russian mafia attacks. Emil, the same gangster responsible for murdering Luke's wife, leads the ambush. A violent gunfight erupts, and the Chinese gangsters are swiftly overpowered. May is seized by the Russians, now a prisoner in their domain. Meanwhile, Luke's day deteriorates by the minute. A random stranger pilfers his breakfast money, leaving him empty-handed once more. While wandering the streets, he unexpectedly encounters a former colleague from his days as a police officer. The man immediately recognizes him and, along with a few other corrupt officers, drags Luke to an abandoned building. Years prior, Luke exposed their illicit dealings with local criminals, causing them significant trouble. They haven't forgotten. They beat him mercilessly, ridiculing him for his current state. But Luke doesn't resist. He endures the blows, remaining utterly silent. Finally, one of them tosses him a gun, taunting him, attempting to provoke an emotional breakdown. Luke stares at the weapon but declines. Without a word, he turns and walks away. Concurrently, May is brought before Emil, who demands that she divulge the numbers. She soon realizes that the woman who informed her of her mother's death had been working for Emil all along. The treachery stings, but May doesn't waver. The woman tries to persuade May to cooperate, but the girl calmly tells her that she's about to perish. A second later, the Russians eliminate her without hesitation. She's outlived her usefulness. May understands she's next if she speaks, so she remains silent. Just then, Captain Wolf, a corrupt police officer and one of Luke's old associates, storms into the hideout. But he's not there to uphold the law, he's there on Han's instructions. Emil, always the pragmatist, immediately offers Wolf double whatever the Chinese Mafia is paying him. Without hesitation, Wolf accepts the bribe and departs. By the time the corrupt officer exits, May is already gone. But both the Russian and Chinese gangs quickly realize she's missing and begin searching for her, desperate to find her before the other does. Eventually, May reaches the subway station where Luke stands near the edge, lost in thought. Just as he's about to take that final step, he makes eye contact with the terrified little girl. For the first time in a year, something within him awakens. He sees the fear in her eyes, the way she's fleeing from something or someone. And then he spots them. The same Russian gangsters who murdered his wife are closing in on her. May, attempting to escape, jumps onto a subway train, but the gangsters spot her at the last second and follow. Without conscious thought, Luke latches onto the moving train, determined to rescue her. One by one, he eliminates the Russians, dispatching them with brutal efficiency. One of them, barely clinging to life, recognizes him as the man they assaulted a year ago. He can't believe what he's witnessing. "You, the garbage collector. Bad information, I never collected garbage, disposed of it. How is the same broken man now tearing through their ranks like an unstoppable force?" Before he gets an answer, Luke finishes him off. Finally, Luke reaches May, but before he can speak, the subway screeches to a halt at the next station. Panicked, she bolts, disappearing into the crowd. To her, he's just another pursuer. As Luke searches for her, he overhears a red alert being broadcast across police radios. The message is clear. The police are also looking for the girl. And knowing the extent of corruption within the department, he realizes they won't take her to safety. They'll deliver her directly to the Mafia. A few blocks away, two of the corrupt police officers who attacked Luke earlier spot May and move to apprehend her. But before they can take her away, Luke arrives. This time he doesn't remain silent. He takes them both down in seconds, proving that he was only keeping quiet because he chose to. May is still uncertain about trusting him, but when the Russian Mafia appears, she has no alternative. She jumps into a car with Luke, and in an instant, they're speeding through the streets of Manhattan with a convoy of Russian gangsters hot on their trail. Luke neutralizes all the Russians, loots their wallets, and reserves a 5-star hotel for himself and May. Meanwhile, in the luxurious hotel suite, May begins to confide in Luke. She finally reveals the numbers she memorized. Examining the sequence, Luke quickly realizes it's a safe combination. But there's a catch. May was supposed to memorize a second set of numbers before the Russians attacked, meaning there are 2 safes, each containing something valuable. Whatever the Chinese Mafia is trading, it must be substantial. Before they can investigate further, Chong tracks May through a hidden device in her phone. He and his men storm the hotel, guns blazing. Chaos erupts as guests scream and scramble for cover. Luke fights back, but in the pandemonium, he gets separated from May. Chong snatches her while Luke barely escapes with his life. Knowing he cannot abandon the girl, Luke devises a strategy. Using a stolen phone, he calls Vasily, the same man who murdered his wife. Posing as a Russian gangster, Luke claims he possesses the coveted safe combination. Vasily, eager for leverage, takes the bait and summons Luke to a casino. Elsewhere, the city's mayor summons Captain Wolf into his office. It turns out the mayor and his boyfriend, Alex, are just as implicated as everyone else in this web of corruption. As they discuss the recent shootings, a shocking truth comes to light. Luke was never just a police officer. He was a CIA operative embedded in the NYPD after 9/11, tasked with eliminating high-level crime figures to establish order. His former partner, Alex, was also part of the operation, but chose a different path. While Luke walked away after exposing the captain's illicit dealings, Alex remained, climbing the political ladder by seducing the mayor. Now, with Luke back in action, the captain realizes he's severely underestimated him. The supposed washed-up loser he and his men brutalized is in fact the deadliest threat they've ever encountered. Meanwhile, May is taken back to Han, who demands to know if she shared the combination with anyone. She lies, claiming she pretended not to understand English. Concurrently, Chong calls Alex, confirming they have the girl and the deal can proceed. It turns out the Chinese Mafia's trading partner isn't just anyone, it's the mayor and his corrupt boyfriend, Alex. They're essentially gambling with the unknown contents of their safes, treating them like high-stakes mystery boxes. Meanwhile, Luke arrives at the casino, walking directly into hostile territory. But he's not there to negotiate. He ambushes Vasily's men, taking them captive. With a gun to their heads, he prepares to use them as leverage against their boss, Emil. The situation has reversed, and Luke is about to seize control of the entire game. Luke calls Emil and puts him in a difficult position, his son's life in exchange for the truth. Emil, unwilling to jeopardize Vasily's fate, reveals everything. The safe held by the Chinese gang contains $30 million in cash, while the one in the mayor's possession holds something equally valuable. The exchange was supposed to be straightforward, money for whatever was inside the second safe. But when the Russians stormed in and took May, the deal collapsed. Now that the Chinese have her back, the trade is back on track. Chong prepares to meet Alex and finalize the exchange, which means Luke has only one way to stop them. He needs to obtain the $30 million before the deal is completed. The problem? The safe is buried deep within Chinatown, guarded by the most dangerous Chinese gangsters in the city. Luke knows he cannot do this alone, so he turns to an improbable group, his former corrupt police colleagues. They agree to assist, but only because of the money. Greed is a potent motivator. Together, they storm the hideout, unleashing an all-out war. Gangsters and police officers fall one by one, but Luke continues to push forward, cutting through the chaos. By the time they reach the safe, most of the crew is dead, but not Luke, because he still has unfinished business. When he finally forces open the locker, he turns on the police officers, shooting them down before they can betray him. The only survivors are Vasily and Captain Wolf, whom he takes hostage. With the money secured, Luke heads directly for the mayor's office. En route, he calls Alex, now completely in command of the situation. He demands to know what's inside the second safe, and Alex has no choice but to comply. The truth is worse than anticipated. The safe holds a hard drive containing information on every major crime syndicate in New York. The mayor had planned to sell it to the Chinese, collect the $30 million, and let the gangs decimate each other. Alex was supposed to complete the deal, but with the money now in Luke's possession, everything is unraveling. Realizing he has no other option, Alex reverses course. Instead of going to the Chinese, he kills Chong and his henchmen, then takes May with him to meet Luke. Meanwhile, Luke breaks into the mayor's office. The corrupt politician attempts to stand his ground, but with everything crumbling around him, he has no leverage left. With no choice, he hands Luke the hard drive. Luke knocks him unconscious and heads to the final meeting point. Now holding both the money and the hard drive, Luke is in complete control, but Alex still possesses a hidden advantage, May. When they finally come face to face, Alex proposes a simple exchange, May for the money, but Luke has alternative plans. He suggests they resolve it the old-fashioned way, with fists. Alex prepares for a fight, but before he can even throw a punch, May pulls a gun and shoots him in the leg. Luke doesn't waste the opportunity. He finishes Alex off without hesitation. Finally, Luke and May are free, but Luke understands their problems won't vanish overnight. For May's safety, he releases Captain Wolf, giving him $50,000 as a bribe to remain silent. He also frees Vasily, ensuring the Russians won't pursue them. That just leaves Han, the Chinese mafia boss who has now lost both the money and the girl. Rather than leave loose ends, Luke sends Han the remaining money, making it clear that May is off limits. But just in case, Luke takes additional precautions. He creates multiple copies of the hard drive and conceals them throughout the city. If anyone attempts to come after them, the drive becomes their insurance policy, a weapon they can use to expose some very powerful individuals. In the concluding scene, Luke and May embark on a journey, driving towards Seattle, ready to begin a new life, finally free.